The second race of the weekend at Oulton Park got underway, and it was the number 79 who started on pole position, Harley McCabe, leading the way into the first series of corners, and there was a titanic scrap for the race lead. You can see here Rhys Stevenson making his way up the inside. Here was Johnny Garness making some moves through the field as well. The lead pack managed to sort of splinter away into a group of about 6 or 7 riders, and it all came down to the final lap. Here was Harrison Crosby making some moves as he went up the inside, and he was the rider to keep an eye on going into this final lap. You can see the riders going nearly 5 wide into the final series of corners, but keep an eye on the 15, Harrison Crosby, on the outside as the number 55 of Harrison Dessoy took the lead. There you can see a high side for Crosby out of the race in dramatic style, leading Harrison Dessoy to take the win from Rhys Stevenson and Johnny Garness, completing the podium for race 2 at Oulton Park. Well, that was then. This is now. Welcome to Donington Park for round 3 of the Bennett's British Superbike Championship. It's the Honda British Talent Cup. We're here with sunny conditions, and here are your top 6 riders on the grid. This is Sullivan Mounsey making his return to the Honda British Talent Cup in 2022. He lines up P6 with Carter Brown alongside. My name's Tom Brooks. Alongside me today is Taylor McKenzie. Taylor, great to have you back in the box. Excited for this one?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited as ever to commentate on the British Talent Cup. It always provides thrilling racing, so we'll see what's in store for us today.
Absolutely. Here is the American Julian Correa, who qualified 3rd on the grid on the outside of the front row. He's Microlist Cresswell teammate Keanu Vaya alongside him. The Dutchman eyeing for the top step of the podium from P2, but he'll have to overturn an astonishing qualifying performance from this man, Johnny Garness, who lines up on pole position. It's he and Keanu Vaya who are in the title fight throughout 2022. Those two at the top of the standings. Vaya has a 5-point advantage over Johnny Garness going into this race. So the personnel depart from the grid. A lot of tension in the air down there here at Donington Park, and thankfully, after a wet, dry practice here yesterday, Taylor, nice, sunny, dry conditions. Yeah,
it's always tricky around Donington Park, especially in the wet weather. It's quite a slippy track, so it's a lot nicer today, a lot clearer conditions. The track's got really good track temperature in it. Just walking here to the commentary box, the temperature's really picked up in the last hour, so I think it'll make for some really good racing.
What's going through a rider's mind at this point? You're waiting to go on the grid. They've just had the 30-second board. Are you full of anticipation, full of nerves?
Yeah, it's hard at this point because everything that you've been thinking about and working towards, it's all obviously coming to a head now in the race. This is the most nervous part of the whole weekend, the sighting lap and the warm-up lap. Everything's building up and all you can think about is the start. But once the lights come on, everything goes out the window and all your practice takes over basically, and you forget about everything else that's going on.
It's a 20-lap race here. As you can see, lovely sunny conditions as the riders make their way around Craner Curve. 17.6 degrees air temperature, 30 degrees on track. That's about perfect for these riders to go racing here in this British Talent Cup, I think.
Yeah, definitely. The track temperature makes a big difference, especially at Donington Park. We've raced here in the past when it's been cold and even snowing at points, and it's one of the worst tracks in the UK at that point. But when the weather's shining, when the sun's shining like this, it's one of the most brilliant places to race at.
You can see the championship standings on the tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Keanu Vaya has a 5-point advantage over Johnny Garness in 2nd place. Harrison Dessoy, though, with that win of race 2 at Oulton Park last time out, just 19 points adrift. And you can see Carter Brown and Harrison Crosby with a bigger ground to make up from 4th and 5th place. So it's all to play for here. You can see the grid there on your left-hand side of your screen. It's Johnny Garness, Keanu Vaya, Juan Correa, who start on the front row, Rhys Stevenson, Carter Brown, and Sullivan Mounsey on the outside of row 2 making his return. Then it's Ryan Hitchcock, Bailey Stewart Campbell, and then the number 29 of Lucas Brown on row number 3. So, of course, the national circuit here, slightly shorter layout than the international track that we race on at Donington Park. How does that change things for these riders here, Taylor?
Well, in the previous races, we've seen that the lighter, smaller riders like Johnny Garness, have taken advantage on the straights compared to some of the bigger riders in this championship. Carter Brown just going through your picture there. So at this layout, we've got 2 less hairpins, so there's 2 less braking and passing opportunities. So it'll be interesting. I think it will play into the hands of people like Johnny Garness that can use the fast and flowing nature of this track to break away at the front. But we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, right away is a hugely important point for these riders here in the Honda British Talent Cup, a combined rider bike weight limit of 148 kilograms. So the riders then just making their way onto the grid for the 20-lap race here for the Honda British Talent Cup. Eyes then to the lights as we get ready to go racing. Johnny Garness on pole position, red lights on. And the lights go out and we're away. Good start then from Garness. Great from Rhys Stevenson on the second row of the grid as they come down towards the first corner. Carter Brown's got a flyer on the 74 as they come into turn one. Look at Sullivan Mounsey on the inside, but it's Juan Correa, I think, who's got the lead there on the Microlist Cresswell Racing machine as he comes through the first corner. So it's Via leading the way from the front down through the Craner curve. So a good start then from second place as they come in towards the old hairpin then through the first series of sectors. Look there at Rhys Stevenson diving his way up the inside, through into second place. Great start there for the top three. So in towards the left-hander the riders go, and Keanu Via holding onto the race lead, but not for long as Rhys Stevenson sends it through, up the inside, into Coppice. Lovely move there from Rhys Stevenson. He's made an absolute stonker of a getaway from the second row, Taylor.
Yeah, it's a really tricky place to pass into McLean's there. It's a corner that tightens up on itself and you've really got to be sure you're going through. We see a lot of riders go up the inside there and the door quite quickly closes on you, so it was a great pass and he's through to the front now.
And you can see already the top four, little bit of daylight between themselves and the remainder of the field there of Juan Correa, who just sits in fifth place at the moment, but not for long because they come through the chicane across the timing line at the end of the first lap and it begins to close up. And the slip through here, it's crucially important on these bikes as Via takes the lead. Yeah,
we can see there coming onto the back straight, Via and Johnny Garness can use their weight as they come onto the straight to gain that little bit back on the bigger riders. Carter Brown here, he'll use this section of the track to try and make up as much as he can. Rhys Stevenson as well is slightly bigger, so you can see here he'll look to try and pass Via up the inside if he can and not let them get away at the front.
Yeah, lovely stuff there from Rhys Stevenson, back through into the race lead. Via now goes from leading the way to keeping an eye on who is behind, and that is Carter Brown on the 74 who's going to try and mount an attack, but Johnny Garness, his teammate, is in turn also trying to get his way ahead. Big move there from the number 40 of Juan Correa going up the inside into fourth place. And that's the thing here, of course, spec bikes for these riders. They are exactly the same machines for everybody, so it really does make it a close pack of racing.
Yeah, we haven't had a bad race yet in this championship. There's some really hungry, talented kids in this championship, and we just see here Johnny Garness sneaking past Carter Brown, but great pass. He managed to let the brakes off. And yeah, it just provides great racing. It's a great learning class for these kids. They've all got the similar bikes and similar height and weight, so it's really the best riders in front of this class.
Are there any sort of key overtaking points for these riders here in this Talent Cup race, or because the bikes are so similar in terms of performance, does it mean that there is an opportunity pretty much every corner?
Yeah, it's different for different riders. So the lighter riders are going to use some of the faster corners. If you just watch a replay here.
Yeah, this is Keanu Via going down the inside, and in turn there you can see Johnny Garness putting one over on his teammate. Late on the brakes, lovely move there from Via.
We see at the corners where there's faster straights before the braking zone, for instance, at the end of the back straight, riders like Johnny and Via can use their weight to use their speed at the end of the straight to set up a move. But corners like this, McLean's, you see Rhys Stevenson there having a look where there's technical parts before it. They can use those corners to try and claw their way back and then launch an attack up the inside.
See Bailey Stewart Campbell looking to try and get one over there on Juan Correa, I believe, on the Microlist Cresswell Racing machine. So down the back straight we come here with the top three lining in third. Johnny Garness, getting his elbows out there on Rhys Stevenson. Down the back straight in towards the S-bend. Stevenson there with his weight able to go so late on the brakes as Carter Brown sends it down the inside. Those two just about avoiding contact into those corners there, Taylor.
Yeah, Johnny Garness, he might be small, but he definitely doesn't let that affect him. He doesn't get bullied about out there. Carter is able to use his size eventually to get through. But yeah, it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see on the tower graphic on the left-hand side of your screen, the purple dot, that indicates the fastest lap. That currently goes to Johnny Garness, who sits in P4 at the moment, down in towards the old hairpin. This is where you can see Rhys Stevenson able to go really late on the brakes, smooth as you like, up the inside, back through into the race lead.
Yeah, so what he's doing now is you get to the top of Craner curves. That's a section of the track where some of the smaller riders, if they're going fast, they might roll the throttle slightly, and Rhys can use that it just takes that split second where they've rolled off to carry his momentum down the hill, and then he sets up the pass as he approaches the old hairpin.
It really is all about momentum on these bikes, though, isn't it?
Yeah, especially at a track like Donington. There's no, apart from the last chicane, there's none of it is stop-start. It's all one corner that leads on to the next. So if you mess up coming out of Redgate, that hinders you the whole way down the hill and the whole way through the old hairpin and up to the next section. So it's really crucial that you hit all your points, you don't make any mistakes, and keep the momentum going.
Well, we saw at Alton Park as Reece Stevenson having a big moment there, big wobble in the mid-corner. That's going to cost a bit of time on the exit, I think, here to Carter Brown, who's going to try and take over the lead as they start the 5th lap. But that's the thing, when you're riding in a train like this, effectively, as we go 3 wide down the start-finish straight, look this up the inside, we go for Keanu Vaya into the race lead. Carter Brown goes from attacking for the lead down into 3rd place. But as I was saying, when you're running in a train like this, one small mistake can cost you quite dear.
Yeah, that's the beauty of these Moto 3 classes, that it's anyone's race, really. If you can get yourself into that front bunch, the lap times in the race normally are slightly slower as the bunch bunches up and they start making passes at each corner, so that allows more riders to stay in the bunch, and at that point a rider in 5th or 6th can quite easily be leading as they come onto the straight if people mess each other up.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see there Johnny Garness just having a bit of a wobble on the front end in 4th place, and he's got Juan Correa very close behind. The sort of top 10 have kind of splintered, top 11 I should say, have splintered away in their own group in this race. They've got a 2.6-second advantage, so any one of the top 11, with Harrison Dessoy setting the fastest lap last time around, could be in contention for this lead if one makes a mistake. Yeah,
you see exactly what I mean. Dessoy is down in 9th position as he crossed the line there, setting the fastest lap and bunching the whole group back together. So this is the point of the lap where everyone bunches up, because it's a chicane and it's a dead stop. If one rider does pass someone and they get to the front of the bunch, they inevitably go slower through the left-hander, and that's where the bunching occurs, and riders can then pass each other up this straight.
Carter Brown was a bit wide into the S's there. That cost him a bit of time. Thankfully, he didn't lose a position to his teammate Johnny Garness, as a tighter line there for Reece Stevenson puts him alongside Keanu Vaya as they come down in towards the Craner curves. 2x2 through there is going to be a really brave move, and I think Stevenson just thinks better of it. Quite sensible. Still a long way in this race to go.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. The pass at Craner curves, you really have to line it up from Redgate, and just as he got to the top of Hollywood there, he came across the front of him and he had to roll out of it, so that meant he didn't have the momentum as he approached to the old hairpin.
And this, of course, is the road to MotoGP as it's built. It's a collaboration between MSVR and between Dorna. And this is a great opportunity to bring young British talent through. And we can see, of course, a lot of M-Track Vision Academy riders on the grid, including the man in 2nd place who's trying to challenge for the race lead here of Carter Brown. And, of course, that whole conglomerate of riders, they've got a fantastic opportunity now, seeing what you guys are doing in Moto3 in the World Championship.
Yeah, it's we'd like to think that there's a really good route for young riders now to get to the MotoGP World Championship, which is something in the past it's been a lot more difficult, especially if you go back 15-20 years. The likes of the Red Bull Rookie Cup has helped this championship, helped young riders bridge the gap into World Championship, but now this championship as well, it's everyone's watching these kids, and it's really anyone's. If you've got the talent now and you can get yourself to the front of this class and show your speed, you've got every chance of getting to the MotoGP Championship.
Absolutely. Riders, of course, from the age of 12 and upwards in this championship. You can see there Carter Brown, I should say, going for a little look on Keanu Vaya into the old hairpin. Just thinks better of it. That allows the door to open for Reece Stevenson here. Here are the live point standings if the checkered flag fell now, but that's going to change, I'm sure, corner by corner. It would be Keanu Vaya who would have a 19-point gap. Oh, no! Contact there with Stevenson and the Michaelis Cresswell rider of the number 53 going into there. That is a big shame for Keanu Vaya. So he was challenging for the race lead. Contact between himself and Stevenson into McLean's, down into the gravel he goes, and let's hope first of all that he is okay, but that is of course a big shame for his championship charge.
It's so easily done. There are very fine margins we're dealing with here, and the riders do ride really close in the Moto3 class. We'll just take a look at what happened.
Yeah, so you can see here Stevenson then on the inside. What do you think of that? That was nasty there for Vaya, wasn't it? He got caught on the back of Stevenson's bike.
So it's really difficult. As they approach there, Stevenson's obviously gone up the inside, and you'll see at this point, Stevenson has gone in, but he's also maybe a touch wide, and Vaya's expecting to come across the front there, and a little bit of a racing incident. He didn't mean it at all, but at the same time there's two lines coming together, and unfortunately the rider on the outside is always going to come off worse.
Yeah, well, we hope that Keanu Vire is okay for that. The marshals here doing a fantastic job of just making sure that he is stretched away safely and the race can continue under conditions. Meanwhile, at the front, it's all changed again because Juan Correa hit the front very briefly. He's now sitting in second place, so from one Microlist Cresswell Racing rider challenging for the lead to another. And Juan Correa moved backwards a bit off the start, was down in about 6th or 7th place, but has now made steady progress through the field with all the chaos that's been going on, and he's now challenging for that lead.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that I was looking at Carter Brown here as he's riding this bike. He was actually racing a 600 last week in Estoril in the Junior World Championship, so this bike will just feel like nothing to him. You can see how late he can brake on it. It will feel like he's riding a toy.
Carter Brown into the lead then, followed by Johnny Garness as they come down the start-finish straight. Across the timeline we go, already nearly at half distance in this race. You can see what it's done though for Reece Stevenson. He was challenging for the race lead. He's now back in 5th place in this group, challenging there on the 55 of Harrison Dessoy. Up the inside he goes through and makes his way up into P4, but again, it's just sort of unsettled his rhythm, I think, there for Stevenson.
Yeah, sometimes when you have contact like that, it takes a lap. Your mind's thinking about what's just happened rather than what you should be doing, and it takes half a lap to get back into it. He's been really strong in this race, and I'm sure he will just fight his way back to the front.
Yeah, Harrison Dessoy sending it straight back up the inside. Ryan Hitchcock on the red 43 looking to join the party here as well. The top two of the MLAV Vision Track Academy riders are sitting at the front of this race, with Carter Brown having the advantage over Johnny Garness. Those two, do you reckon they'll be thinking about working together at this stage?
I'd like to say yes, but I don't think the answer is yes. Two young kids that are just desperate to win this race, and both very talented youngsters that they've only got one thing on their mind, and it's not helping each other out.
Yeah, out of the two, of course, Carter Brown hasn't taken a win so far this year. 2 second places, sadly 2 DNFs for him at Oulton Park a few weeks ago. Meanwhile, Johnny Garness, of course, has taken 2 wins so far in 2022. He now sits at the sharp end of the field. You can see there Bailey Stewart Campbell putting a move over on Ryan Hitchcock as he tries to elevate himself up the order. Fastest lap last time around for Johnny Garness, the race leader. So encouraging signs there for Garness that he's got the pace here at this halfway stage, but because of the bikes being identical, it's so hard to make a gap over the rest of them.
Yeah, especially when if you do start passing each other, that's going to help hold each other up and let the group catch back up. I do think Johnny and Carter, you've just seen there as Johnny's done the fastest lap of the race, if they do work together, they do have the chance to break away. But it's so easy to just pass one person into a chicane, hold each other up that little bit, and the group closes back up. Yeah, this is the battle we're looking at for 12th position, involving Edmonds, Goodman, Crosby, McKay, etc. as they go through. You can see Harrison Crosby sending it up the inside and making himself a position there as he goes through ahead of Kelly, but Crosby, of course, was looking really strong at Oulton Park, high-sided out at the final corner. A disappointing end to his weekend. Seems to just be lacking a little bit of pace. Someone who's not lacking pace and lacking confidence is Reece Stevenson as he sends it through on that final corner. Yeah, he's been really confident all year, especially on the front end of that bike, making big passes and using his momentum to make moves, and it's really good to see. Yeah, simply the confidence you have to have on the front end is astounding on these bikes. If you don't have it, then you're going to be nowhere, are you? Yeah, a Moto3 bike, they're at some corners are going just as fast as superbikes. It doesn't always look like that, but they're able to carry the momentum. They've got little skinny tyres, they're really lightweight, and they can also make really big passes because the bikes are so light, they stop really easily. It's the first thing you notice, or I especially noticed it when I moved up to a 600. The bike doesn't feel like it's stopping when you first go to the brakes, whereas these bikes, they stop and turn on a sixpence. So at the front you can see that it is still Carter Brown who has the advantage over Harrison Dessoy, who now sits in second place. So he's been able to split up the two MLAV Vision Track Academy riders, and that now becomes a first and fourth place for the MLAV Vision Track Academy riders, as Garness is demoted down into P4, with Reece Stevenson making some forward progress up into P3. Down the back straight we go into the chicane. I think this is going to end up inevitably being a last lap scrap here in the Honda British Talent Cup. Yeah, the other thing with this, the junior races that we have, is because this is part of the Dorna programme, the races are really long, so it's 20 laps, which is getting on to the same length as the Superbike race. So normally in these junior classes they have really short races, but with these longer ones they have to really think about using their tyre up properly and think about their fitness and planning their moves in the dying stages of the race when everything becomes as hard as it possibly can. The tyres are worn out, you're worn out, and they've really got to try and start constructing a plan as they get towards the last few laps.
Do you actually have time to think about making a plan when you're riding?
It's difficult in a race like this where you might have a plan and normally they go out the window because whatever you're thinking, someone else is thinking the complete opposite, and it's so easy. We saw just 3 or 4 laps ago, Johnny Garness did the fastest lap of the race, and then the next lap he crossed the line in 4th. So at that point he would have been planning on maybe riding away at the front of this race, and suddenly you're back to 4th. So your plan's constantly evolving, constantly changing, but they'll always be thinking, they'll have one eye on the last lap and trying to set up a move for the last chicane.
Saw Bailey Stewart Campbell there getting his elbows out, trying to muscle his way past Juan Correa. Wasn't quite able to make that move stick into the cleans, but certainly signalling his intentions as Dessoy goes defensive on Johnny Garness for 2nd place, and Rhys Stevenson takes over at the sharp end of the field. So, end of lap 12, it is Rhys Stevenson from the number 74, then who sits in 2nd place of Carter Brown. Across the timing line though, you can guarantee that's going to change as Johnny Garness sets to put one over on the number 55 of Harrison Dessoy, not quite able to make the last of the late breakers manoeuvre into that first turn. And it is still Carter Brown who holds that race lead, holds the advantage. These guys running nose to tail down the Craner curves. I have to say, Rhys Stevenson's confidence on the break into the old hairpin is just astounding.
He's riding really, really well. No matter what's happened in this race, he's managed to work his way back to the front. He's not scared of passing anyone. He's had some really big late passes. He's really good at carrying his momentum. So you see up through here, he can settle the pass. It's what happened before when there was a little bit of a coming together. He actually gets passed by Dessoy. Oh, that was a great pass.
2 in 1 there for Harrison Dessoy. Great move there. Loses it on the exit though as Carter Brown comes through. And there you go, from making 2 places to losing 3.
Yeah, and you see just how quickly it can change. That was a brave pass. I'm not sure if he ever thought he was going to stop, but I definitely didn't think he was going to stop.
Let's have a little look then at this manoeuvre. Harrison Dessoy sending it down the inside of Stevenson, and Carter Brown had to momentarily sit up, runs it a bit wide on the exit through McLean's, and unfortunately loses momentum, loses positions as a result of that. I have to say though, one man who's made steady progress through this race, hasn't got his elbows out too much so far in the front group, is Ryan Hitchcock, who's sitting on the red 43, set the fastest lap last time around, tries to have a move there on Dessoy into the first corner, isn't quite able to make it stick into Redgate, but he's looking pretty handy towards these latter stages.
Just as we start concentrating on one rider, another rider sets the fastest lap of the race. It really is anyone's in this. Stevenson for me is the one that's been able to do big passes, but he's also fell victim to that as he's made some of these passes. Riders have got past, and now Carter and Johnny have got back to the front. Dessoy has also made steady progress through this race, working his way to the front, and now Hitchcock. So yeah, your guess is as good as mine at this stage.
Sullivan Mounsey bookending this little group, as you can see just off the back of them there is Lucas Brown. Look over the shoulder there for Rhys Stevenson. What's he thinking? Is he just signalling to his other riders?
I think he's wondering where all these people are coming from.
He is getting a bit mugged over here, isn't he, in these sort of latter stages? He was challenging for the race lead. He's now just hanging on to the top 5 here.
Yeah, there's nothing worse, I think. One thing I always try and teach younger riders not to do is look behind, because there's never anything good to see when you turn around. There's only other riders, and at this stage all he needs to be doing is focusing on what's in front, how he's going to get past other riders, because when you look behind, all that sort of signals to the rider behind is you're struggling and you're wondering who else is going to pass you. So it's important to just keep focused and keep making moves.
Status quo between the top 2. Carter Brown leads from Johnny Garness. Ryan Hitchcock's elevated himself into 3rd place, so nice ride there for Ryan, but for how long? Because Harrison Dessoy gets really good drive coming through Redgate and down into the Craner curves. He's back through into 3rd place. Rhys Stevenson there, not able to do anything to mount a challenge on these top 4, but he needs to keep it a bit tidy. Somebody who's not keeping it tidy is Sullivan Mounsey, just going a bit wide out of the exit of the old hairpin. And you can see there a simple mistake, and look how many bike lengths it's cost him.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were saying before about momentum in this class. You've really got to keep your momentum going, and if you just roll the throttle off that split second, it can cost you 0.2, 0.3.
So no long lap penalty for these riders, just to remind you here. It will be a 2-second time penalty given by race direction if they are deemed to have exceeded track limits a few too many times. Bit of a brief look over the shoulder there for Johnny Garness in second place. He's just keeping a close eye because these riders are just running absolutely head to toe to one another. You can see Hitchcock there getting up the inside of Dessoy and through into fourth place. Who's going to be the fastest rider this time around? As I think some nervous faces there on the pit wall for the Vision Track guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of nervous faces. I don't want to speak too soon because we're in this situation at Silverstone and all of a sudden there's two Vision Track bikes on the floor. So they're both riding really well, Carter and Johnny. Carter's really stretching them at the front at the moment. He keeps setting fastest lap or his fastest laps of the race. But Stevenson is your man that's, no matter where he's got shuffled back to, he's always managed to get back to the front as he looks up the inside of Johnny here. Yeah,
makes the move stick through the old hairpin. Does Reece Stevenson, nicely done. Lose a bit of momentum on the exit, again wide there for Sullivan Mounty, so race direction might be having a thing or two to say about that. Challenging for third place he was, or second place I should say there for Reece Stevenson, now set to lose third because Hitchcock's, going up the inside as he goes down. Reece Stevenson from third place, drama here in the podium battle, and unfortunately he crashes out of a potential challenge for the race lead there for the Lincolnshire man. That's so disappointing after a really, really strong run, just too much on the front end.
It's such a fine line. You'll see here, just carries a little bit too much speed in. He's got 4 fingers on the brake there. There's a lot of brakeage trailing in, and unfortunately just loses the front. I'm not sure if there's any contact there or not. It's hard to see from that angle, but it's we'll just see here. No, he just lost the front on his own.
Just too wide into the
corner.
Yeah,
too wide. As you get out onto that part of the track sort of levels off and you lose the camber of the corner as well. So really easily done. It's such a fine line between being really confident on the front and passing people and losing the front.
Well, thankfully for Reece Stevenson, up and okay following that crash. I hope that he will be able to get the bike fixed and ready to go for race 2 here tomorrow at Donington Park. Meanwhile, that does cause a little bit of a gap there between the top two as Carter Brown is just able to build a bit of a gap over Johnny Garness here in second place very briefly, but not for long because you can see there Garness is able to try and make their way through. They're just getting their way past the back marker here as they ride through, and that's just unsettled Garness, I think, for a few moments as the field makes their way through. But yeah, it's unfortunate there for Garness because he was looking to try and mount a challenge on Carter Brown. Now he's having to keep a watching brief on Ryan Hitchcock.
Yeah, that was just what Carter Brown needed to try and break away at the front. Back markers are, I mean, it's not necessarily the back marker's fault. It's really difficult to get out of the way and know what to do. And it was the first person that had approached him, but he was able to put the back marker just in between him and Johnny Garness. And that might just be the gap that he needs to stretch them. We'll see now what Johnny can do with 2 laps to go in this race to bridge the gap.
Yeah, it's absolutely flown by here. You can see Bailey Stewart-Campbell pulling out of Juan Correa's slipstream, trying to make his way through. Isn't quite able to do it on the brakes into Redgate, and possibly is going to come under attack here from Sullivan Mounty if he's not too careful. So they run nose to tail, and you can see there Carter Brown having a half-second advantage. I mean, that's easily the biggest gap we've seen for a race leader so far here.
It is, and Johnny's just set his fastest lap of the, fastest first sector, chasing him down. He took 2 tenths out of him there in that first sector, and you can see just how hard he's trying, and he's stretched the group and broken them behind.
So in towards McLean's we go then. You can see Johnny Garness banging it down the gearbox as he goes through. I imagine they're all probably running a race shift configuration of gearbox, and what I mean by that for those at home is down is up and up is down basically.
Yeah, so we run the gears that way around because as you're accelerating out of corners, it's easier to shift down on the lever than it is to pull up. You've got a little bit more time when you're braking to pull up on the lever, so 90–95% of riders use that configuration. These bikes actually come with the bike that way around, as opposed to a road bike that would come as you would normally expect a motorbike.
Ready to start the penultimate lap with Carter Brown in the lead, followed by Johnny Garness. Then it's Harrison Dessoy, the man, of course, who was on the top step in race 2 yesterday. Look at the progress. He's made 12th on the grid, now up into 3rd. And, of course, the grid positions will be set for race 2 by the fastest laps that are set here in this first race. So we'll keep an eye on that. Race Control have made a notice. And there we were saying about Sullivan Mounty a couple of laps ago. Track limits warning for him. So if he does it again, he'll be hit with that 2-second time penalty.
Yeah, it's this is obviously fed down from Grand Prix where the track's painted green on the outside of the track, and if you touch that green, it's classed as exceeding the limit of the track. In the good old days, it used to just be grass, and the grass was sort of self-policing because if you got on that, then you would be upside down. But now Race control, keep a keen eye on that. Anyone that's deemed to do it lap after lap gets penalties imposed on them.
They're just approaching the back of Holly Harris here. I wonder if they're going to come up onto the back of her before this race reaches its conclusion. Let's keep an eye on that, because it could have an effect on what happens between this leading group. Down the back straight we go, and up into second place goes Harrison Dessoy. But for how long? Because Garness is a demon on the brakes. Is he going to be able to outbrake Harrison Dessoy, though? Not quite into there. Garness down into third place, ready then to start the final lap of race 1 of the Honda British Talent Cup here at Donington Park. It's Carter Brown who leads the way. Garness pulls out of the slipstream for second place as they come down the start-finish straight into Redgate. He's already got the advantage, and he's now through into P2 as Hitchcock goes around the outside there and gets himself up into P4.
Regardless of what happens in this final lap, Carter Brown's rode an absolute stunning race so far. He's been really consistent and fast in his lap times, led from the front, which is not easy to do. The one determining factor, I think, in this last lap is going to be the back marker, and we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a keen eye and see what happens. Fastest laps you can see on the right-hand side of your screen. Reece Stevenson will be the rider who starts from pole position. So, despite crashing out of this race, if he's able to hold on to that, as we can see them making their way past Holly Harris, this is not what the leading group wanted, but they managed to navigate their way through the traffic relatively easy. And it is still Carter Brown in front, but for how long? Because Johnny Garness has a big old look up the inside into Coppice. They're ready to come down the back straight and in towards the S-bend for the final time. It's advantage Carter Brown in front. But is he going to be able to hold on to that race lead and take the checkered flag here in race 1? Here comes Harrison Dessoy as well. On the brakes, into the S-bend we go. It's Carter Brown who has the advantage, and surely, unless he loses drive, he'll hold on to take the checkered flag in race 1. It's Carter Brown with the win here at Donington Park. Or is it? It's so close between himself and Johnny Garness. 24 thousandths of a second to the line. Harrison Dessoy takes third place with Ryan Hitchcock, Sullivan Moundy completing the top 5. Meanwhile, further back, this is a great little scrap going on for the top 10 positions with Edmonds involved. Edmonds is just about going to be able to get the advantage, or is he? No, because it's the 15 of Harrison Crosby who gets ahead and gets himself into the top 10 right at the end of that race. From Edmonds, then McKay, then comes Goodman and Kelly, and it'll be the number 27 of Wilkinson completing, in fact it's actually Ollie Walker who completes the points in 15th place. But as we expected there, Taylor, a frenetic end to that race. A great job from Carter Brown. It is his first win of 2022.
That was a stunning ride by Carter. He rode really well all race, and then it came down. Johnny perhaps went a little bit too early trying to pass him into Coppice. He wasn't able to do so. Carter closed the door on him, and that killed all of Johnny's momentum. He couldn't get the run onto the back straight, which he needed to launch an attack into the last chicane. So, a fantastic wheelie as well, 10 out of 10.
Seal of approval there from Taylor Mackenzie. You can see on the bottom of your screen, fastest lap for Reece Stevenson. So as I said, despite crashing out earlier in the race from the lead battle, he will, thankfully for him, if he's able to get the bike repaired and his team will start from pole position for race 2.
Yeah, that's small consolation for him there. He did ride really well. He was unfortunate to crash out. He was looking really strong the whole race, and I think he would have fancied his chances had it come down to that last chicane, but yeah, and crashed out, and he can try again tomorrow.
Great job for Johnny Garness. Of course, he will now take over the championship lead here in the Honda British Talent Cup as a result, of course, of Keanu Vire's DNF in that race. And also keep an eye out for what it will mean for Harrison Dessoy, finishing, of course, on the podium in third place. I wonder what that will mean, because he was 19 points adrift coming into this first race. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes things in the complexion of the championship. But a phenomenal race from Carter Brown, his first win of 2022, and you can see exactly what it means for him. Sheer delight. Great to see the marshals congratulating him there as well. A great result for the MLAV Vision Track Academy team here at Donington Park. A perfect start to their weekend. Let's have a look, shall we, at the race results then from race 1 of the Honda British Talent Cup. It's Carter Brown who takes the honours from Johnny Garness and MLAV Vision Track Academy 1-2, with Harrison Dessoy completing the podium. Hitchcock and Moundy complete the top 5. Julian Correa there in 6th place ahead of Bailey Stewart-Campbell. Then it's Lucas Brown, Luca Hopkins and Harrison Crosby inside the top 10. Clayton Esmonds and Harrison McKay just outside of that. We saw a great scrap for the final top 10 positions. Dan Goodman, Calvin Kelly, Ollie Walker completing the points standings there, and I'm sure they will want to be elevating themselves up the order for race 2 here tomorrow. So here are the championship standings then after 5 races, and you can see what it means. It's Harrison Dessoy who took that 3rd place finish in race 1. He now has the championship lead over Keanu Vire by just 1 point. Carter Brown with the win goes up into 3rd place, and Johnny Garness, despite finishing on the podium in P2, actually drops down from 2nd to 4th in the standings. So disappointing there for Johnny Garness. He'll know, of course, that there's a lot of work to do, but the top 4 separated there, Taylor, by only 6 points, so that's really, really close.
Yeah, all the riders now have had a DNF or 2 between them, so that's levelled it all back out. It's really going to be a fight to the finish throughout this year. It's going to be great to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see riders who've made some good progress there. Bailey, Stuart Campbell, Luca Hopkins with their strong results. Sullivan Mounty gets on the board for the first time this year, despite a warning for track limits in that race. Only Sullivan's first weekend here in the Honda British Talent Cup. Did a full season last year, missed the first couple of rounds, back out on the grid here for this weekend.
Carter, first win of the season. That's closed things up at the top of the title chase. You must be really happy with that with the Vision Track Honda.
Yeah, I'm so happy with my result this round. At the beginning of the weekend, I was really struggling. I didn't get FP1 because I had a little crash with my teammate, and so I had to work a lot harder to get back up to speed for the race. And I'm so happy with that. It's really what we've been needing. I've lost my confidence a little bit, so that just boosted me so much. And I'm so looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, listen, you've got another race this weekend to get your teeth into as well, so best of luck with that one, and well done for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Huge congratulations there to our race winner, Carter Brown. A perfect start to his weekend here at Donington Park. Great from Johnny Garness and Harrison Dessoy, who make their way onto the podium here at Donington Park. Brilliant way to start the weekend's worth of action. What was your particular highlight there from that race, Taylor, if you could pick one out, because it was so action-packed?
Well, it wasn't really a highlight. It was just the way Carter went about his business in that. He just kept himself to himself, just concentrated on what he was doing. Was really consistent throughout the race and really impressive. It was a really mature ride. There was a lot of good rides in that. There was so many, there's so many young, fast, talented, up-and-coming kids in this. It's just fun to watch.
Yeah, simply stunning there from Carter Brown. And you can see the height difference there between Carter and between Johnny. He really is a bit of a small lad, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's not even that Carter's that big. Johnny is just incredibly small. I'm sure he won't mind me saying.
I saw him on the grid and he was on his tiptoes, putting his feet on the ground.
Funny story about Johnny. He actually came to a Grand Prix the other week and we couldn't really find him a pass. There was a way of getting him in if he said he was under 10, and he was more than happy to say, I'm under 10 years old, if it meant he could get in. So he can still get away with being 10 at the moment.
Oh, well, nice there for Johnny. Onto the podium in 2nd place, his teammate Carter Brown onto the top step for the first time in 2022. Harrison Dessoy completing the podium. The trophies now awarded here. Great result for Harrison in 3rd place. Another podium onto the tally for him in 2022, I should say, rather. Johnny Garness, despite losing ground in the championship, sits in 2nd place on the podium, and a great job, as we say, from Carter Brown. A win and leading the championship after Donington Park here in the Honda British Talent Cup. Well, let's have a look, shall we, at some highlights then from that first race. Away from the lights, it was a simply stunning start from Johnny Garness, but look at Reece Stevenson from the 2nd row of the grid. He got away like a scalded cat, and Sullivan Mounty also got his elbows out in the early stages. Down towards the first corner, it was Keanu Vire who held the lead from Garness and then Reece Stevenson. The pack all bunched up, but they kept it relatively clean for the initial stages in this race, and then it became a big old scrap, 10 riders battling for the race lead with Keanu Vire out in front. You can see here Vire, though, having contact with Reece Stevenson. That sent him into the gravel track. A very heavy crash for the Dutchman. A sad conclusion to what was an otherwise promising race, and we hope that he is okay. Meanwhile, there was drama further back for Reece Stevenson in that race. Ended up crashing out from podium contention, but an absolutely phenomenal job from the number 74. He came across the line to take the win. His first win in 2022 for Carter Brown.